As we reported earlier, over the weekend, President Trump said his agreement in Buenos Aires with Chinese President Xi Jinping was, quote, an incredible deal. One that he said could go down as, quote, one of the largest deals ever made, if it goes through. But as Nick Schifrin reports, that's the big question. Just what did China agree to? And what's the likelihood of reaching a bigger deal in the next few months to eliminate tariffs?
Amna, there were some specific agreements announced by President Trump. He delayed plans to raise tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese goods from 10% to 25%. And the U.S. says the Chinese promised to buy a significant amount of American products. The president and other U.S. officials have also said today China is going to remove tariffs on U.S. cars coming into the country, but China hasn't confirmed that. Let's look at the significance of what happened, what still needs to take place. Michael Pillsbury is an advisor to the Trump administration and the director of the Center for China Strategy at the Hudson Institute. Michael Pillsbury, thank you, and welcome back to the NewsHour.
Thank you.
Let's get to some of the core of the deal, at least what the U.S. says. The U.S. says Chinese promised to purchase more than $1 trillion of products. I think the number was today. According to the U.S., they've agreed to address more systemic issues like intellectual property theft. The Chinese have made similar promises in the past, as you know. Why should this be any different?
I think the important thing is to see the overall approach, that it's taken a year and a half of President Trump's I hate to say threats, but his pressure on China in various ways to bring about this 3-hour meeting. There's no written agreement that's come out of it, but the focus seems to be on starting formal talks with our U.S. Trade Representative's office. Chinese are, I wouldn't say frightened, but they're very respectful of Bob Lighthizer. So you have a sense of a caution now on the Chinese side. What are we getting into? And there's the issue of what they actually agreed to, where I have some impressions from talking to Chinese today and yesterday.
In their statement after the dinner, the Chinese did not mention a few things that the U.S. has said they did. The Chinese did not mention any kind of 90-day deadline, which is what the president said. They did not mention any buying of agricultural products at all. So doesn't that concern you?
Well, there's a big difference, as you point out, between the Chinese version of what happened in their media and what various advisors of President Trump have said. The tradition used to be we don't talk in public about arrangements we've made with the Chinese for a variety of reasons. One is that they may be unstable back in Beijing and not be willing to be humiliated by, the American side saying, we got this victory, we got that victory. President Trump's taking a different approach where he's really stressing his chemistry with President Xi. This is, I wouldn't call it a gamble, but it's a risk that if suppose President Xi really does accept what President Trump's telling him and then tells his government, fix all this for my friend. That is going to be the biggest breakthrough since 1972.
Very quickly, Mike Pillsbury, in the time we have left, are you worried that the Chinese will have short-term actions, so these investments perhaps for purchasing, that they'll do, and not do the long-term systemic changes that, frankly, you and many in the administration want them to make?
What I think the Chinese are doing, and they're not stupid either, they've already begun announcing over the past month a series of reforms that they want to do on their own. One of the phrases is, we're going to open our market greater than the last 40 years. They then specify $2.5 trillion of foreign services, insurance, investment, anything that's not a good is a service. That's a pretty big gesture. They've said a number of things about bringing tariffs down. They've even said that they share the American goal, no tariffs and no non-trade barriers. They haven't said no subsidies. That's probably a bridge too far because their system is based on subsidies.
But fundamentally, you think they're serious about these long-term changes?
I think Ambassador Lighthizer may be doing something that happened back in the 1980s with Japan, identifying that they're reformers inside China and pushing them, helping them. So the idea may be that President Trump has push on the system, keep Xi separate from the wrongdoing, and then try to get the reformers to change some of this egregious conduct that, frankly, the whole world knows about in China.
Mike Pillsbury, outside advisor to the Trump administration and of the Hudson Institute, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.